Quote, a cabinet minister, Chrystia Freeland, invited herself to New York City for a night with Trudeau and the cool kids. Oh, and a dictator's diplomat, and you paid for all of it. Remember Justin Trudeau's expensive trip to New York to see a Broadway play called Come From Away? The play is based on the typically Canadian hospitality of the little town of Gander, Newfoundland in the wake of the 9/11 attacks on New York City. The Canadian government was buying tickets for everyone, from Ivanka Trump to executives from Hudson's Bay Company, Roots, BMO, Air Canada, even WestJet. The total cost of the ticket buy was somewhere around $30,000 charged to you, the Canadian taxpayer. Now, ironically, Newfoundland itself was not part of the free ticket bonanza. No Newfoundland officials actually went to New York for the opening of the play. But as I told you in a prior story that I did when the news of the expensive ticket buy broke, one recipient of Trudeau's Broadway globalist bromance really stuck out for me. The permanent delegation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela's permanent delegation to the UN. They received 2 tickets, but the names of the recipients were redacted in the order paper response that revealed who the ticket recipients were. But luckily, a quick Google search shows the head of the permanent delegation from Venezuela to the UN is someone named Rafael Ramirez Carreño. Now, he might not have been the one to eventually use the tickets in the end, but that's who Trudeau invited out on your money. He was Hugo Chavez, energy minister. Carreño was Venezuela's OPEC representative, meeting with those murderous Islamist nations on at least 30 different occasions to plot ways to undermine and harm the Canadian energy sector. Carreño also served as a cabinet minister under current Venezuelan socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro. We know Maduro's Venezuela is rife with riots, food shortages, human rights abuses, and even death. Anyway, someone else was there in New York, but she wasn't invited to the play. Chrystia Freeland, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We all know her for her hard-driving negotiation tactics of crying and going home when things don't go her way. Freeland made Canadian taxpayers foot the bill for her to crash the New York City party that she wasn't even invited to. Let's just stop right there for a second. Freeland wasn't invited to New York to the play, but a Maduro diplomat was. That has got to sting. We know this because we have new access to information documents about Freeland's expenses that show she wasn't part of the official PMO trip to New York to see Come From Away. So she made an under 24-hour trip to New York for something she called bilateral meetings instead. She hopped a flight at 1 p.m. in the afternoon from Toronto's Billy Bishop Airport, March 15th, getting to Newark, New Jersey at 2:25 in the afternoon the very same day at a cost of $478 to the Canadian taxpayer. In that time, according to her expense claims, she had a dinner in New York and breakfast and lunch again in New York City the next day at a cost of $107. Then on the very next day, March 16th at 12:10 in the afternoon, she jumped on a flight home from Newark back to Toronto at a cost of $365. So Freeland was only in New York for around 22 hours, and most of that was sleeping, flying, eating, commuting, and then going to a play. And it's ridiculous when you put it into context with the fact that Freeland wasn't even supposed to be there in New York. And I know that because I can see it in emails between bureaucrats that were trying to sort out her expense claims. There's this one here. Hi, Carrie. Tony is inquiring as to whether or not the Minister of International Affairs was a member of the Prime Minister's delegation for his visit to New York for the Come From Away event. So Carrie sends a quick email back that reads, Hi, Justin. Minister of International Affairs was not a delegation member. So then the bureaucrats become a little bit worried when asked the other for official documentation, which doesn't exist. This email reads, I'm not sure why they had the impression she was part of the delegation. Only the PMO was part of the delegation. PMO approved the delegate list and did not flag that the Minister of International Affairs should have been reflected. Okay, that's really embarrassing because Freeland was specifically not invited, and that directive came right out of Justin Trudeau's office. But here's where it should become especially bothersome for Canadian taxpayers. There was really no reason on paper for Freeland to go to New York in the first place. Right here in this email, no program was created or shared for the New York trip, but they eventually settle on the excuse that she must have been there for something called bilateral meetings. But that could really mean anything, and when did she have time for meetings? This is just really pathetic for Freeland. Her last-minute trip to hang out in New York with the cool kids cost us about $1,000, and I really shouldn't have to buy her Broadway tickets to deal with her underlying sense of inadequacy. We're taxpayers. We're not Freeland's therapist to help her through her inferiority complex. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. Did you know that I have a weekly show here on The Rebel called The Gun Show? It airs every Wednesday, and it really annoys the left. We talk about issues that matter to Albertans. To get access to my show and the rest of our premium content, become a Rebel subscriber today.